Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Butcher Shop Show. I was sitting here in the morning, drinking my coffee, going through local news, national news, just checking out what's going on in the world today. And been watching the beef industry, obviously, especially the reopening of the Mexico-U.S. border as far as allowing feeder cattle back into the country. For those of you that don't know, in May of 2025, we closed the Mexico border as far as allowing beef into our country because of a screwworm outbreak. Screwworms are a parasitic bug that comes from a certain type of fly, and they burrow into the beef and cause a problem. Basically, you can't have a bunch of worms in your beef. So, and because our standards are so much higher here in the U.S. and we have a lot of veterinary checks and USDA regulations, we were able to catch it pretty soon that Mexico was sending us beef that were full of screwworms. So we shut the border down. So that way that our entire country's herd basically wouldn't get this screwworm problem. Well, they've decided to reopen it. They're going to reopen it in about 30 days apparently, which is a good thing. It'll obviously, because beef prices in the U.S. are so high right now, right? The only people that it's really good for are the ranchers. The ranchers are selling beef at record prices right now. It's like $4,000 to buy a beef on the hoof, where it used to be like $1,800. So it is a good thing for certain people, but for the consumers, I mean, you go buy a steak in the grocery store right now, which you shouldn't be at the grocery store. Remember, go to your butcher shops. Do not go to the grocery store to buy your meat. But anyways, no matter where you go to buy a steak, a ribeye steak is like $22 right now, $25 per steak. So, I mean, if you go out to eat at a restaurant, you're paying like $35 for a steak at like a diner, not even a high-end spot. So, beef prices are soaring right now. $9 for a pound of ground beef. That's just crazy. But that it's mainly due because we're not taking in any imported beef on the hoof, really, which we normally do. So that helped drive the price up. It helped drive it up a lot. So hopefully by opening this border situation, the beef prices will start to come down. Obviously, there's inherent risk with there, like the beef coming from Mexico oftentimes have screwworms or carry other diseases because they don't have the oversight and the regulations down there, right? They're compared to our system, they're pretty uncivilized as far as they handle their livestock. So once they get to our border, we have a check system, like a checkpoint, just like for people, right? When you come into the U.S., you have to go through customs. Same thing with the beef. They have their own checkpoint where they get health checked, all that other stuff. Make sure that they don't have a bunch of illegal drugs packed into their stomachs, which does happen every single year. I mean, let's face it, anything coming from Mexico, you're going to have to check it, because it might have some stuff hidden inside it, Anyways, yeah, I just want to highlight some of the border situation, and then also the conglomerate situation. The beef industry in the U.S. has basically been turned into like the Walmart version of it. Like, everybody knows when Walmart moves into your town, half of the ma and pa shops are going to disappear. So there's a few companies in the meat industry that have done the same thing, like JBS, National Beef. There's like 3 or 4 companies that have taken over 95% of the entire situation as far as meat in the U.S. So a lot of local ma and pa butcher shops and stuff, they've had to close down. You can't make any money because there's only 4 companies that control everything, which means they can price fix also. So luckily, it sounds like the government is doing something to kind of break that up to make it more fair, so that more people can get in on it, and also that'll help bring the cost down, right? If you only have two gas stations in your town, and those 2 gas stations are working together to keep the prices high, you're pretty much stuck. You're kind of being held hostage, and that's kind of what the meat industry has been doing lately. But luckily, people and certain politicians have started to figure that out, and they're starting to break that up. So, all right, let's get into these videos, guys. See what we got.
As U.S. officials continue to battle the outbreak of the New World screwworm here in Texas, a port in Arizona will once again start accepting cattle imports from Mexico. The parasitic fly was confirmed here in Texas on June 3rd. It began its northern spread to the U.S. back in 2021 after sterile fly production in Panama decreased and allowed the parasite to spread. Those sterile flies were what kept the screwworm contained after a massive outbreak here in Texas 50 years ago. The outbreak caused nearly $800 million of damage in today's cash. When this year's outbreak began, the USDA closed our southern border to cattle from South America. Now, Ag Secretary Brooke Rollins says, thanks to the hard work of the federal, state, and local governments, it's once again safe to open the port in Arizona to resume cattle movement. The U.S. will accept imports from areas in Mexico considered low risk and said to have strong animal health infrastructure programs. It's a move earning praise from Texas Ag Commissioner Sid Miller. He sent out this statement following the USDA's announcement, saying the prolonged closure has taken a toll on producers and disrupted supply chains. He does, however, criticize the USDA, saying the department hasn't gone far enough with its response to the parasite and that the port should have reopened sooner. The Texas and Southwestern Cattle Raisers Association also reacted to the news, praising the USDA and other agencies for the commitment to screwworm response. It said the closure of the border, quote, provided valuable time to strengthen surveillance, expand sterile fly production and distribution, and implement protocols needed to manage the New World screwworm.
U.S. Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins visited the livestock inspection facilities at Douglas, Arizona this week. She highlighted the department's preparations ahead of the planned reopening of the port to livestock trade on August 24th. In addition, Secretary Rollins declared USDA's commitment to invest $25 million toward the opening of a new sterile fly dispersal facility in Arizona in its long-term response to New World screwworm. Under USDA's phased reopening plan, each animal will receive multiple veterinary inspections before entering the country. Industry groups, including the Meat Institute and National Cattlemen's Beef Association, support the move. According to USDA, the timeline remains contingent upon continued progress by Mexico and ongoing risk assessments. For Market to Market, I'm Laurel Bauer.
So it sounds like this is going to work out good for our country, and especially our beef industry. Hopefully this will bring prices down to the consumers, right? Hopefully this will make beef cheaper when you go out to buy it, and you'll know that it's healthy beef. Now, I know there might be some confusion as far as me wanting beef from Mexico to be in the country, and then on other videos, obviously, I always say stop buying imported meats, buy from your local butcher. Well, getting beef alive on the hoof into our country, I don't see as a bad thing, because we can feed them and basically nurse them back to health and make them healthy beef for us. What I don't like doing is buying beef from other countries like Australia, New Zealand, that's already in a box, wrapped up and packaged, and then brought here. Because you don't know how it was killed. Maybe that thing was full of screwworms the day it was killed, Maybe we just don't know. I don't mind getting beef that are still alive, because we can always nurse them back to health and turn them into good cattle. And then, put them into our system and make them healthy for our people to eat. I don't like buying beef that's already been slaughtered and then sold to us. I'm not a big fan of that. So I know there might people who have seen my videos just like, well, wait a minute. I thought you said no, stop buying imported meat. I did say that. But imported cattle are a little bit of a different thing. We can kind of turn them into what they should be, If they're coming already cut up in a box, there's nothing we can do about it. You're just supposed to eat it. And I'm not a big fan of that, because you don't know where it's been or where it came from or the health standards that it was killed under. So anyways, yeah, I just sounds like this is going to be a good thing. Sounds like hopefully the prices will start going down. And another another issue is people ask, like, well, why are we taking imported cattle? Why can't we just raise our own cattle? We can. The only problem is, and you'll see in these next couple clips I have, like in the next video, we used to be able to sustain ourselves. Now, because of this conglomerate Walmart type of situation, there's less ranches, less farmers, less producers, so we can't keep up with the demand. We don't have enough people raising cattle in our country to supply all the needs that we have in our cattle. And one main thing also is we export a lot of our good beef. The whole world knows America raises some of the best beef. So they pay a lot more money for it. We export a lot of our super good beef, like our beef from Texas, Montana, Nebraska, a lot of that super good beef where the super good grass grows. We export it all to other countries, and then we import trashy, low-grade beef to feed ourselves. It's very strange. So that's one reason that we have to import cattle from other countries, and we finish feeding them. We make sure we get them back to health. We nurse them back to health, and then we put them into our beef production here in the U.S. We need those cattle because we don't have enough ranchers. We don't have enough farmers that are raising cattle, and the reason for that is the conglomerate situation, the big giant beef corporation. They took over all the feedlots. They bought up all the farmland. That and we do this weird thing where we allow other countries to buy our farmland too. So I don't want to get too political on this thing, but there's not a lot of other countries would allow a U.S. citizen to go in and buy a bunch of their farmland, right? That just doesn't make sense. But the U.S. does that. That you can be from a different country, come to the U.S. and buy 1 million acres of farmland and not farm it if you want to. Just let it go bad. So we need to, in my opinion, we should stop doing that because it's really hurting our agriculture industry. But yeah, we don't have enough producers to keep up with demand in our country, so we need to import these cattle. But hopefully that'll start to reverse soon. Hopefully we can get back to how it should be. We could easily and should be able to supply our own beef for our own people. But the situation has gotten so flip-flopped and messed up over the past few decades that, right now we have to take cattle from Mexico and nurse them back to health just to keep up with our supply and demand. And then exporting all of our good beef, we need to slow that down too. I understand we need to make money, but we need to start keeping more of our beef for us, in my opinion. That would really help the United States citizens pay less for their beef. If we stop selling it just for profit to everybody else on the planet, let them raise their own beef, and let us raise our own beef.
My family and I derive 100% of our income from the beef and cattle industry. First of all, I'd like to thank Jesus Christ for his favor on this nation for 250 years. America 250. Let's go. I'd also like to thank President Trump and his administration, including the Department of Justice, USDA Secretary Brooke Rollins, for fighting on behalf of the American people and returning to the founding principles to defend liberty and freedom. For too long, farmers, ranchers, and American consumers have suffered at the hands of consolidated power. Just in the last generation, we have lost 665,000 beef cattle in operations, which is 50% down from 1980. We have also lost 86,000 farmer feeders, which is 1,000 head and below. This has been driven by years of mergers and acquisitions of multinational corporations and foreign meat conglomerates. That has created a level of economic and political power that too often escapes oversight and accountability. As a result, unrestrained market control by these powerful corporations has increased input costs for producers, decreased profitability, and forced many to become price takers. While at the same time, this market control drives up costs for consumers. President Trump's recognition that this level of concentration has possibly led to market control and manipulation political leverage, and vulnerabilities in our supply chains and food security is crucial to upholding our sovereignty and safety in this nation. Restoring a fair marketplace, rebuilding a resilient American food system, and protecting the food security of this nation are critical in securing an integral marketplace that strengthens rural America, supports local economies, and ensures consumer affordability. Today signals that these concerns are being taken seriously. We respect the process, and we applaud the Trump administration for taking steps forward to restore a fair and competitive marketplace for American producers and consumers. I will reiterate that food security is national security, and I submit to you today, where there is beef, there is freedom.
That's the video for today, guys. It looks like there is some help on the horizon. So hopefully this beef market will settle down and prices at the store will get a little cheaper. Remember, support your local butcher shops. Support your small-time ma-and-pa butcher shops. And if you really want to save money, go find a farmer or a rancher you trust. Buy a beef, a hog, a lamb, a goat. Buy your animals alive on the hoof. Hire a local butcher to process them for you. It'll cut your costs in half. It might not seem like it, because on one beef, within a week's time, you might spend $3,000 or $4,000. But if you were to go buy that amount of beef throughout the whole year, you'd pay about $9,000. So it's definitely cheaper to go that route, and it's much healthier. You know where your animal was raised, you know who's processing it, where it's coming from, and it's just better, and it helps your local community, helps your local agriculture, helps your local butcher shop, and you can feel good knowing that you're feeding your family with healthy meat, and you know where it came from. So, thanks guys for watching. This is the Butcher Shop Show. I will catch you all on the next one.